Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back. Be sure to check out battleofthebuilds.com for all of your battleground needs, as I'm posting quite a few of the battleground builds that I've been playing. For example, the melee Magicka Nightblade, that build is there, along with the new Magicka Nightblade that I'll be running for this patch. For those who are interested either in a tank or looking for pure DPS, you can find that here. Video to come, the build video is already there. You'll be able to check it out here along with the text version. I posted my thoughts on the Magicka Necromancer for PvP, and of course Magicka DK, whether you're looking for a heavy armor dual wield or support, or a light build, or if you're looking for a hybrid build. I have my Templar build. I'll be posting Sword. I have two Warden builds that are up. One is a heavy armor DPS, the other one is more of a utility heavy armor tank called the Steel Guardian. Be sure to check it out. And of course, every month I'll always be putting up a blog on my thoughts for PvP, how PvP can be improved. With that said, I didn't want to leave you without a build for Battlegrounds. With that said, I went back to my original idea. When I first looked at Necromancer, it screamed to me hybrid. It was the very first thing that I was thinking about as I was playing the build. There were so many really good magic abilities that I really wanted to take advantage of with my build. I do like playing a lot of heavy armor, sword and shield builds, and this is what I've created. In my opinion, for this particular build, I like Nord. Nord has really good passives. We'll take a look at them right here. We have the resistance to frost. That gives us 1000 HP, as well as giving us a little bit of resistance to cold. Magicka Necromancers do cold damage, as well as Wardens. And so this gives us a little bit of resistance to their damage, as well as giving us immunity to the chilled status effect. And the chilled status effect will proc the root for anybody who uses Wall of Elements, as well as the reduction in movement speed, as well as the minor maim. So chilled status effect has quite a few procs that it does, and so this is basically one root, one snare, and one minor maim that we're able to avoid. Gives us a little bit of extra HP, makes us a little bit tankier when fighting Magicka Necromancers or fighting Magicka Wardens. With that said, the Stalwart passive gives us an extra 1500 stamina, as well as ult gen, and Necromancers are really good at generating ult. Nord pushes it the extra mile. The Rugged passive gives you the extra tankiness that you need as a frontline fighter. For those who like really sort of brawler type builds, this is the way to go for the extra tankiness for both physical as well as spell resistance. So for this particular build, like I said, I did go with the sword and shield ability, all points into stamina, and we are running the warrior mundus. This is in Cyrodiil, all points into stam, running warrior, and we'll jump right into the items that we're using. So typically I like to use the 1 Kina, 1 Dom House for the pure damage raw stats. I don't like relying on a proc set. I like to make sure that my build can put out enough damage instead of relying on an unreliable proc set, especially for a sword and shield build. I'm trying to maximize my kit by maximizing the amount of resources that I have access to. 25k HP for heavy armor frontline build I feel is adequate, with 14.5k Magicka, and of course we're just shy of the 30k mark. Health recovery is pretty good. We're at 630 with a pot, and of course 771 stamina and Magicka. Our fully buffed spell damage, this is with 7th Legion, and of course running brutality, we're sitting at 4486, and that's because I'm running Dawnbreaker on the back bar. With we're running 23% crit. The 0.8 in ESO will always round down, and these are our resistances. As you can see, pretty beefy, 29k fully buffed up, and of course with the 1k stam. And look at that, 1500 penetration, and that's not including the penetration from Ransack, which is an additional 5280 from the major fracture. The effective Weapon damage is about 6750, which is okay for a frontline build, and of course we do have an extra 4% resistance to frost attacks. So the abilities that I chose to use were Ransack. This will be our main spammable for both the damage, cost 1500, as well as for the major fracture for 12 seconds, but this also gives us access to the minor buffs for 12 seconds. Again, this will be you're going to be in the middle of the fight, and so this will give you the extra tankiness that you need to survive. Our CC is Invasion. It does a little bit of damage, and the stun is 4 seconds, and of course if we hit someone further away, it will CC them for longer, especially if we drain them dry of their stam, or if the person for whatever reason doesn't CC break, they will take our long durations stun, and that's why I chose this ability. I found this ability to work better than, for example, using Reverb Bash, because we don't need access to the major defile, because we're going to get that from the Necromancer kit. Our next ability is Necrotic Potency. This ability is free. It has no cost to it. It is a Necromancer ability, and it says the purpose of the ability is to gain more ult per corpse. So we generate 6 ultimate, and then every second for 2 seconds we gain an additional basically 1k HP. And of course it's slotted on our front bar, so that while slotted your damage is reduced by 3%. Now this is a ability that you want to make sure is up 100% of the time. The Mortal Coil is the selfish version of the heal that the Necromancer has access to. But if you're a 1vxer, if you like to solo, or if you're a solo queue in a Battlegrounds, this is a really good sustain ability for both your HP as well as for your stamina. It says there it will regen 18,000 health over 12 seconds, right? So that's 9,000 health over the course of 12 seconds. That's just about the equivalent of an extra 1,500 regen. And then it also gives us access to the extra stamina, and that extra stamina is just about 400 and, or where was it? Here we go. 474, basically the equivalent of adding an extra 474, and that will last for 12 seconds. And of course the only thing that's required of this ability is of course for you to have a corpse on the ground, or for someone to be either one of your teammates, one of your opponents, or if there's another Necromancer around, for them to drop corpses themselves, and then you can take advantage of the corpse that way. I decided to go with Evil Hunter. This is kind of a flex spot, but I wanted it for the major savagery. Also gives us access to something that will pull Nightblades out if you're fighting a Nightblade, and of course it's very expensive to cast. I don't recommend it. I would just wait, or have your summon come out and then just hold block and wait for the attacker to come back out. It is a very expensive, as you see there, it's 5,400, but I primarily use it for the passive 3% weapon damage, because of in the Fighters Guild you gain both an extra 3%, and of course in the Fighters Guild, whenever you kill an undead or a Daedra or a werewolf, you gain an extra 9 ultimate. So you want to make sure that you have your Fighters Guild level up. So our defensive ultimate on the front bar, of course, is Spell Wall. Necromancer has huge access to Ulchin. Not as good. Well, the Magicka version, I would say Necromancer is a bit better to generating ultimate, and so this ability is really good when you're fighting multiple opponents, or of course if you're in the front line for your team, as you should be, as basically a brawler tank for Battlegrounds. You want to be sure that you're in the front line absorbing as much damage. Spell Wall will help you do that, especially from range attacks like snipes, frags, anybody using like Nightblades with their spectral bow. This will help reduce the damage, and of course help you manage your stamina. During that time you can sit there and heavy attack and gain back stamina. On our back bar we are running a 2H. Like I said, I am running 5 Pelennals, 1 Kino, 1 Dama House, and then we're running, excuse me, I think I forgot to say, the 7th Legion, and that's for the heal, and of course for the extra 500 weapon damage, and of course we're going with all weapon damage on the jewelry, and of course it's all robust. Nirnhone on the front, sturdy shield, and then I think I went an extra 2 pieces of sturdy, maybe I got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of sturdy, and then 1 impen, 2 impen, 3 impen, 4 impen. So this is a 4 sturdy, 4 impen build with a Pelinal's battle axe on the back bar infused with a weapon glyph. And then of course I always go with the maxed food for the max magicka, and of course the max stam and max HP, which is what gives us the really beefy amounts of resources that we have in Battlegrounds. For the back bar, I wanted access to a slow. I really didn't feel like I needed to utilize, for example, Heroic Slash for the slow or for the minor heroism, because one, I'm a Necromancer, 2, I'm a Nord. I felt there was enough ult regen. I didn't need the slow, plus it was a little more stamina intensive with Heroic Slash, and I felt this was a better way to go because I can get both a root, a snare, and the maim right here. This is a very good magicka ability. It can immobilize up to 3 people. It slows everybody in its path by 50%, and then reduces their damage by 15% for 5 seconds, and then up to 3 people can be rooted for 4 seconds. And this works out really well with the combo. Next ability is Blighted Blast Bones. It's a stamina ability. It costs 1700, especially because this is giving us a little bit of reduction, as well as this morph is giving a little bit more reduction to the cost of our abilities. And of course, when you cast it, you gain 25% reduction if you immediately cast the ability again, which you should. This ability and this ability should be up 100% of the time while you're fighting. Always cast this ability first when you engage, because you will need access to a corpse, and then you'll be able to proc this ability off of the corpse of this ability or off of the corpse of this ability. The Blighted Blast Bone does AoE damage. It takes quite a bit of time for the summon to both get raised and then of course point in the direction of his target, and then it will run in that direction. But it's made easier on a stamina build because it's less likely to get either rooted or snared, or of course have screwed up pathing, because of course the pathing is a little screwed up on this ability, but it works out much better on a stam build than it does on a magicka build. And of course you have access here to the Major Defile for 4 seconds. It does really good AoE damage. As you can see, it's 12,300, so that's about 600 AoE damage, and of course it leaves behind a corpse, and you have access to the Major Defile from this ability. It's really good. You can actually time the burst between here and then our back bar ability of Dawnbreaker. We are running forward momentum, and then of course that's for the major brutality, the heal every 2 seconds, as well as for the immunity to both snares and roots. As we are running a heavy armor, not really going to be dodging all that much, might be better off just using forward momentum. The next ability is a really good ability. It costs HP to use, and of course while slotted it reduces all of your abilities by 3%, and of course it removes up to 4 negative effects from you. It's important to keep in mind if you have multiple effects on you. For example, let's say you get fossilized by a DK, and then you're both rooted by the for example, if they hit you with a flame ability, all of their flame abilities will put a slow on you by 30% from the warmth passive, as well as the root from fossilize. What you want to do first is hit this ability every time you're rooted and snared, and then use hexproof. The reason being is because it's the most efficient way to remove both roots and snares first, and then remove the negative effects after, so that you're always removing a maximum of 6 negative effects. Like I said, hexproof. Excuse me. And then our last ability here is our major armor buff. It says there, it gives us both the physical and spell resistance, and of course while active it will also reduce the cost of our blighted blast bones by an additional 12%. And of course, it also creates a corpse when the effect completes. It's also important to understand that this ability can be recast at the 10-second mark or lower, and it will still drop a corpse on the ground. So, but this is the primary way that you're going to gain corpses on the ground. You want to make sure that you're as close to your enemy when you cast this, so you can gap close and then hit them with the blighted blast bones, or you can cast it from range. It'll wind up, and then of course you'll be able to hit them with the evasion, and while they're CC breaking, they won't be able to block the damage. And then the back bar is Dawnbreaker of Smiting. It's for the CC as well as for the damage, and then of course the dot over 6 seconds. It's got a really decent tooltip for no CP. And of course the combo would be, for example, if you're a 1vxer or if you're fighting multiple people, to find some light of sight, turn around, cast the Ghostly Embrace into a Dawnbreaker, or you can cast the Ghostly Embrace into a Blighted Blast Bones into a Dawnbreaker. It's a really good combo to both root and snare your enemies. You can snare multiple opponents. The Blast Bone will do AoE damage and do the Major Defile, as well as the Dawnbreaker for the CC. It's a really deadly combo. I really enjoyed this build. I've played a version of it all the way through, either in the below 50s, and I decided to try my hand at Magicka Necromancer. Found it to be subpar at best. For PvP, it would work really good for PvE, where nothing moves and basically the tank holds everything. But for PvP, Magicka Necromancer really is subpar, and you can check that build out either up in the top, or I'll leave it at the end of the video. I'll be back. Be sure, like I said, be sure to check out Battlegrounds, the battleofthebuild.com, as I will be posting a lot of tips and tricks, as well as updating my all of my builds. I will be coming up later on with another build for both Necromancer, and of course I will be posting my sorcerer builds up there. And of course you can always check out the new melee Magicka Nightblade Kina Rising. Thanks for watching, take care, and God bless.